Hi everyone, and thank you for joining another Ready to Ride Pilates for Horse Rider session. Apologies for being indoors today, but in true British summer style it's blowing a hoolie outside. If you are not a horse rider, as always, you're more than welcome to join this class. It's going to be hardcore hips as it says on the tin, but if you are fit enough to do these exercises they will be great for you anyway. We're going to do a hip focused session today because your hip flexors and your glutes are really important sets of muscles for stability around the pelvis, and that means postural control, good seat, good lower leg stability as well. So let's get started. We're going to start off actually with an abdominal exercise. It's the abdo prep, just to get this muscle group fired up because they're really important for all the exercises that we're going to do. So I'd like you to check that your feet and knees are hip width apart, neutral tummy position and pelvic floor onto floor 3. Float your hands, reach for your toes, and then look between your legs and take everything back down together. So you float, reach, look between your legs and everything back down together. We're not going to do 100 of these, just enough to wake up your abdominals before we start asking them to work with the harder exercises. You want this just to be the upper body moving, not your tummy as well. One more. Okay, then we're going to move on up into your tabletop position. So pelvic floor, nice neutral tummy, and legs one at a time up into tabletop. Check your tummy is staying in neutral. If you want to keep your hands onto your headlights, then I suggest that you do. That'll give you that extra bit of feedback. Okay, so pelvic floor, and then we're going to go into your scissors. So we're going to drop one toe, and then we're going to move both legs at the same time. So we're now concentrating on that hip control, working through those hip flexors as they lengthen to let the leg down and shorten to bring the leg back up again. Always moving from the hip, keeping the knees at 90 degrees. Use your hands to give you that feedback. Are your headlights staying really still? You might want to think about your ropes from ribs to pelvis as well. Make sure, now that we've woken those abdominals up, that they're working to keep you in this position. Keep your pelvic floor active. And remember to keep breathing. Okay, I'm going to come back up to tabletop, and now we're going to have a go at your hip twist. Same starting position, and then we're going to take one leg out and back up, and then the other leg out. So unlike the easy version when your feet are on the floor, the whole leg is on the move. So again, you want to think of your abdominal ropes and your pelvic floor. That's going to help keep you in position. Use those hands for feedback to make sure that your headlights aren't rocking from side to side, and also make sure that you're still breathing and not bracing through your diaphragm instead. And do one more each way. Okay, now we've got a challenge physically and mentally. We're going to combine those two exercises. So if I can get this right, you're going to take one leg out into hip twist and one down to the floor, back up, and the opposite way. So same things apply: ropes, pelvic floor, level headlights, breathing, moving from the hip, not the knee. Lots of things to work on. If you find you're getting sore, by all means have a breather. There's no point pushing yourself. Do one more each way. Okay, and then one at a time, feet back down. And then we're going to turn onto your side. And we're going to do your clam exercise in the level 3 position. So you need your bottom leg straight and your top leg bent with your foot tucked in behind the knee. Mouse holes open, pelvic floor onto floor 3, and then you are opening and closing that top knee. If you can, try and take your knee right up to the very top, provided you don't lose your balance. That means you then really work your glutes through their full range. Always though, making sure that top headlight stays pointing straight ahead and doesn't start to sink down towards the floor or start to rock backwards if you go too high. So this is a really good one for really specifically targeting your glutes. Do a couple more of this one. Okay, and then we're going to swap and do the other side. Obviously you guys can just turn around. I'm going to turn over. Okay, so same setup. You want to have your bottom leg straight, top foot tucked in behind that bottom knee, mouse hole open, pelvic floor onto floor 3. And then again we are opening and closing that top knee, keeping your top headlight pointing straight ahead. If you can, try and get that top knee right up to the very top, provided it doesn't really throw you off balance. Just make sure you give yourself that chance to work your glutes right the way through their full range. Just do a couple more on this side, well maybe 3 more, because we've got one more glutes killer exercise to do after this. Okay, right, we are now going to come up into kneeling. Okay, and we are going to do the side kick from the kneeling position. Some of you will be familiar with this already. It's a bit of a coordination challenge as well as being a glutes challenge. So you're going to go over onto one hand and then straighten your other leg out to the side. Okay, check your pelvic floors onto floor 3. Use that top hand to keep your headlights nice and still. And you're going to take that top leg forwards and backwards, trying to keep it as level as you can. You might also want to think about your ropes as you're doing this and watch that they don't stretch, and then you're finding that you're moving through your body instead, because as always with these hip exercises, the movement is coming from your hip. If you're finding that you're moving through your body, you're cheating and you're not using your hip muscles. Okay, then we're going to add in a few little pulses up and down, still keeping headlights nice and still and using that pelvic floor. Super. Okay, bring that leg back down and we're going to go the other way. So shuffle over to the other side of your mat if you're on one, and then we're going to go down onto that hand, leg out to the side, check your headlights are nice and still, and then off you go again, taking that leg forwards and backwards, pelvic floor onto floor 3. Remember to think about your ropes if you need to. That's going to help to give you that little bit of feedback. Make sure that movement is still coming from your hip and not because you're cheating and moving through your body instead. If you're thinking about leg aids on the horse, you want that movement to be coming from where you want it to be coming from, i.e. probably from your hip, not because you've wobbled around through your body instead. It wants to be subtle and where you want it to come from. Okay, let's add in little pulses. So now keeping your hand onto your head like that, give you that feedback. What's that leg up to? This is quite tough. Your glutes are going to be starting to get really tired, so I'm not going to do too many more. Okay, lovely, and then feet back down. Okay, staying in the kneeling position, we're going to do one last horrible exercise, and this is particularly useful for people who jump, but it's a good one for anybody really. Hands onto your headlights if you want to, just to give you somewhere to put them. Pelvic floor onto floor 3, and then you're going to come down and then back up and down and back up. So I say this is good for people who jump. This is particularly useful for cross-country jumping, because obviously if you have drop fences through water, anything like that, this is the kind of movement control that you need to have. Of course, this does reflect your rising trot movement, so it's useful for anybody, but most useful for cross-country. Okay, so as you're moving through this, think about making sure that your headlights are moving equally, you're not leading with one side, and also try to keep your shoulders over your headlights so you're not tipping forwards, but equally that you're not leaning backwards. This is quite tiring on your quads as well. So we're not going to do hundreds, but this is great for your hip flexors. Okay, we're going to do a couple more. Okay, and then we're going to go back down so that you're lying down on your back. We're going to stretch out around the back of your bottom, sort of your glutes and hamstrings area. So if you can pop your right foot in front of your left knee, if that's as far as you can go, you can give yourself a bit of a stretch, pushing the right knee away. Otherwise, both hands around the back of your left thigh. Then you want to gently bring your left knee towards your left shoulder. And you should feel that in your right bottom and thigh. And then ease that stretch off. And then again, left knee towards left shoulder. And you should feel it a little bit on the right. And ease off. If you've got sciatica, you probably shouldn't do this exercise, but you're probably not doing this class anyway. And then one more, left knee to left shoulder. Okay, and then pop that foot down, swap your feet over, so now you've got your left foot on top of your right knee. Again, like before, if you can't get any further, just push away with your hand. Otherwise, both hands around the right thigh. And this time, you guessed it, right knee towards right shoulder. And ease off. And again, right knee to right shoulder. Hopefully you're feeling that down the back of your left bottom and thigh. And ease off. And then we're going to do one more. And don't forget, we're not trying to stretch anything in terms of lengthening any muscle tissue. We're just trying to make sure that we've taken the muscle tissue through its full range, but passively, so it's not working, it's just been taken through that position, and as it's worked quite hard. Super job. Okay, we're going to finish there because those were pretty hard, some of those exercises, and there's no point in trying to push yourself at that intensity for too long because you just end up being really sore and also fatiguing really quickly. So those are going to be really useful if you are competing a lot, if you're riding a lot of horses. This is a really good session to come back to maybe once a week. Use it as almost like a HIIT kind of session. I hope it's been useful though for those of you that need this sort of workout, and I will hopefully see you back outside again next week. What you need to do if you haven't already is make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and then you'll keep getting all the updates about what we're up to, and keep working away in the meantime. Take care and bye bye.